If I wanted to drop 10 kilos before summer so I could walk down the beach feeling like a boss without a fuck given, sipping an ice cold beer, having the best holiday of my life, or time at the beach, best summer, with no nagging voices at the back of my head telling me I should cover up my body, then this is exactly what I would do. And I've helped over 250 clients over the last 4 years do just this, like Carl here in this picture on holiday from Spain, where he was on holiday not giving a single shit what anybody thought, forgetting that t-shirts even existed. He'd signed up about 10 months before this picture, right off the back of a holiday to the same place. And on that holiday, he'd never taken his top off once because he felt too embarrassed. Fast forward to this holiday 10 months later, he didn't remember what a t-shirt was. And a month after, he did a photo shoot looking like this. First of all, I would make sure you give yourself more time than you think you need. You're gonna fuck up as you go throughout this journey, but that is part of it. When I did my first ever diet, I fucked it right up. I went about it the complete wrong way. I went about it the old school bodybuilder approach with the most bland diet ever, right? And actually I was really malnourished when I look back at the diet that I did. The food was drier than a nun's cunt. Zero flexibility, zero social, it was shit. And I was wet dreaming about Nutella. And I'm a Biscoff man. Nutella's all right, but Biscoff is where it's at. The diet ended up going down the pan anyway, as I just built so much frustration and I felt so crap. I was so food focused that I just exploded and went, fuck this. And then I went out and got pizza with a mate of mine. And let's just say it went right through me. We got to the car park and I was like, shit, I'm going to poo myself. This is bad, right? I'm going to explode. So ran to the toilet. Shit, the men's is taken. Anyone in the women's? No. Go in there, shit out my entire insides. It was horrendous. Apologies to anyone who went in after me. I was sitting there waiting for people to like leave because someone did come in whilst I was in there. I was like, shit. It was awful. I just couldn't digest it at all. Anyway, I'm gonna walk you through goal planning, training, nutrition, and behaviors. So let's get into it. Before we do anything, we need to get clear on where we're actually going. Lack of clarity will kill your chance of achieving your goal. So we need to understand what's the perfect outcome. What is 10 out of 10 here? How do you look? How do you feel? How are you showing up every single day? How are you making decisions? What's your life like? What is this goal allowing you to do? Get crystal clear on this. Then I actually encourage you to flesh out the other side, 0 out of 10. When none of that is present, what is life like? And then on that scale of 0 to 10, where are you consistently right here, right now? Then build up that level. What's that like? How do you feel every single day? What are your days currently like? How do you currently look? How do you currently feel? And then wherever you are, our immediate focus just becomes the level above. So flesh that out. What's different from your current level to the level above? How will you be different? What do you need to achieve to get there? Then we need to plan the specific things that we need to do to move from the current level to the next level. The reason that this is so important is because we're all gonna have different things that we need to focus on to get us to that next level. So we're gonna get a bigger bang for our buck return by focusing on us as individuals and what we need to do. For example, some may really need to fix up on their sleep, right? So that their energy levels are better. They then go out, stick to their diet, stick to their steps, go and do their training with intensity. Others may not struggle with sleep, so putting a specific emphasis on that makes no sense. So it needs to be fitting for you as an individual. And then how are you actually gonna know when you're at that next level? What will be the signs? And lastly, and this is really, really important, when you get to that next level, how can you reward yourself? Because humans, we are goal-seeking organisms. We like to do shit that feels good. You eat cheesecake, it feels good, you do it again because fuck, that feels rewarding. So make this process rewarding. It doesn't need to be anything crazy. It could be you go for a nice walk where you live and get a coffee. Whatever works for you. I've had some clients that have done dental treatment, bought clothes, that have just given themselves a day off, that have just had a fucking bath with a glass of wine. Doesn't need to be anything crazy, it just needs to be rewarding for you. And then set a date in the future to review, right, am I at this next level? If I am, sound, how do I get to the next one? What does that look like? If you're not, what still needs to happen to get me to that next level? Now we know the goal, we need to set up your nutrition. If we're trying to get lean, we need to be in a deficit. I don't care what diet you do, we need to be in a deficit. It's all the same shit. right? Every single diet leads to the same outcome. You consume less calories. Now there's different arguments to what's the best approach here when it comes to losing fat long term. Some coaches like to make their clients wait and do a data collection phase before they go into a deficit. There's definitely merit within that. I'm not knocking it, but my preferred approach is to go straight into a deficit and gather the data whilst we're in there so that you don't have to wait 2 weeks to get any tangible results. You just start immediately and we pivot and change as we need to. And then we're not 2 weeks behind. You come to lose fat, let's get some fat loss. It'd be very hard to sign up to a coaching program, in my opinion, to lose body fat and then not go after that straight away. I find that a bit confusing. Here's a good approach to setting your initial calories up. Take your body weight in pounds and multiply it by 10 to 12. 10 is going to be more aggressive, 12 is going to be slightly more moderate. If you can be adherent to the more aggressive one, you will lose fat faster. Adherence being the key, because one isn't necessarily better than the other. If you can't be adherent with 10, but you can be with 12, you're going to lose more body fat. If you are carrying a bit more body fat, you can go potentially a bit lower, potentially 7 to 9, depending on how much body fat you are carrying. But 10 to 12 will be a good fit for most. How do we fill these calories? We need to get a sufficient amount of protein in. Protein isn't just for meatheads trying to get fucking wham. When you're eating a higher amount of protein, your diet is going to be easier to stick to because protein is very filling. But it's also going to mean that you can maintain muscle and even build muscle so that you don't look like a saggy ball bag at the end of your diet. Quite an important thing, right? You want to be lean and muscular, not saggy testicles or skinny fat, right? How much protein do you need to have? 0.7 to 1.2 grams per pound of body weight works very well. Again, if you are carrying more body fat, we don't want to have an unnecessarily high protein target. So what I would do is I'd just take your goal body weight and then use that for that same metric. Does it matter when and how you get your protein in across the day? No, not really. As long as you get your daily amount in, you're sound, but being tactical with it will massively help your adherence. Protein is very filling, so spreading it relatively evenly across the day will help you stay full throughout your diet. Doesn't need to be exact, but close enough will be quite helpful. And you may potentially get slightly more advantageous effects from said protein with 3 to 5 feedings across the day than 2. But as long as it works for you, you're getting it in across the day, doesn't matter. Next up, we need to make sure we are getting in healthy fats. Fats are so important for your health. They're crucial for your hormones. They're crucial for things like your hair, your skin, overall cell repair, reducing inflammation. They support your brain health. Fats are essential. Without them, you will die. And of course, we want the majority of them to come from healthy fats like salmon, eggs, nuts, dark chocolate, avocado, extra virgin olive oil. How many do we need to have? 20 to 30% of your calorie target will work pretty well. Where a lot of fellas shit the bed is carbohydrates. They think that carbs are the thing making them fat, and they're not. Excess calories do. I fell into this trap too. After that first diet that I did, that I spoke about earlier, right? I went back to what I was doing beforehand and I was really shredded. And I went from being really shredded, excuse the posing, I was 17, to gaining body fat very, very quickly. And I didn't connect the dots. I just thought, well, I'm eating more carbohydrates, so obviously it's the carbohydrates. So I did consider for a period of time going keto, and I was like, but that sucks. Eventually I stopped being an idiot and just realized that I was just eating more food, right? But carbohydrates are important. They are your body's primary source of energy. If you're better fueled for your training, your performance is going to be better because you can put more intensity in. That's going to mean you maintain muscle better and you even build muscle better, which will give you that more athletic, beach body, shaggable motherfucker look. And not to mention, carbs can also be used as a tool to keep you full throughout your diet because we can utilize higher volume options like potato and rice. And whilst we're talking about fullness, for fuck's sake, please eat fruit and veg. And a lot of them, fruit or veg or both, at every single meal. Your diet will be a lot less shit if you do this. Not to mention how important it is for your digestion, your health, your skin, protecting you from disease, all of this good stuff. Another thing on hunger, meal timing and frequency, do they matter? Not really, but yes, for adherence. Go with the meal timings and the frequency that works for you on a consistent basis. If your routine is all over the gaff, your hunger will be all over the gaff. If your hunger is all over the place, sticking to your diet will then be a lot harder. But sometimes when we're dieting, we want to have a little bit more flexibility. We want to go out and have a few beers with the boys, you want to take the missus out for dinner, and you're not quite sure how you can fit that within your calories without eating all day. And we don't need to do that, because you don't need to eat the exact same amount of calories every single day. You can maneuver them across the week in a way that works for you. So I've pulled up an example client here, right? And we might look to do something like this. We might look at your week as a whole and go, okay, well, you'd actually like to have 1,000 calories extra on Saturday, right? And you're on 14,000 calories across the week, 2,000 per day. So we could do something like this, where we do, say, Monday to Friday calories, and we're going to go 1,800. Then on Saturday is the day you want to go out. So Saturday, we're going to use the 1,000 calories extra that you've banked across the week and give you 3,000. And then Sunday, you're just going to have a regular day. So Sunday calories, you're going to have calories, it's going to be 2,000. So across the week as a whole, you're eating the exact same amount of calories. So you're going to drop the same amount of body fat. It's just you're working your calories in a way that's going to work better for you. Monday to Friday, you might be busy with work, not got an opportunity to be as hungry or not as much desire to use those calories. Saturdays, you probably want to go out and do something. And then Sunday, you can just have a pretty regular day. And then you can repeat this week on week, have a good amount of flexibility, and still drop body fat. You can't be a total dick with this though, and eat like 1,000 calories Monday to Friday and then go on a massive bender at the weekend. But we can make small realistic adjustments like the one that I just ran you through. Now that covers everything that we're putting in your gob. And without focusing on that, whatever we're gonna talk about now means jack shit. But the next thing for us to look at is your daily movement, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, your NEAT. This is the biggest. Hello, cat. Hello. Absolute pussy whisperer. But why should we focus on your daily movement? Because it is the most amount of calories that we burn every day that we're in control of. And as you go throughout a diet, your body is going to want to move and fidget less. So it's a really good idea for us to have a step goal so that we have a consistent amount of movement throughout each and every day. You will still fidget less, but we can still hit the same sort of step target so that we maintain a higher calorie burn. There's no exact number that you need to hit. You don't need to hit 10K, it's not a magic thing, but it's a good number to aim for. I would say wherever you're at right here, right now, just look to improve upon that. Do a little bit more, add 1 to 2K extra. From a health benefit perspective, you get the sort of max benefits from about 8K. So if we can get you up to 8K plus on a consistent basis, you're going to be in a really good position. Cardio wise, everybody's favorite. I do think everybody should do some. I really don't care for you or for clients how it gets done. If you do it via a sport, if you do it on a cardio machine in the gym, if you go fucking running, swimming, I really don't care. But cardio is going to be useful for a few things. It's going to mean you're going to burn some additional calories, so it gives us another lever to pull from if we need to make an adjustment throughout your fat loss phase. But my personal favorite is it's going to make you fitter, so that the limiting factor within your training isn't going to be that you're blowing out your ass unfit. You're actually going to be able to hit true failure rather than fail your set because you're out of breath. And of course it's great for your health as well. I think a great place to start for most people is if you can get 20 minutes of a cardio related activity in per week to start off with, great. And it doesn't even need to be the same thing every single week. It can chop and change. Different if you are, doing a photo shoot, stepping on stage, but for people that just want to look good, be lifestyle lean, have a set of abs, you can play around with it. It doesn't need to be the exact same thing every single week. Speaking of training, this is going to be fundamental in creating the look that you want to have. People say it's 90% diet, 10% training. I say bollocks. I say it's 100% training, 100% diet, and 100% lifestyle. If your training is shit, but your diet is good, you won't have the level of muscle that you want, so you won't have the physique that you want. So how do we optimize your training? Well, first things first, you need a set program where you know exactly what you're doing every single week and what your targets are, what you need to beat. No going into the gym and chopping and changing shit all the time. Fuck that shit right off. We need a set plan. We do this for our clients' initial consultation form. And then what we will also do is do like an end of block training program review. So we know how that program has gone from their perspective and what they want their next focus to be if it's going to be different. Because if you want to get bigger arms, your program probably needs to take that into account and make sure that it specializes in arms. You can get a 3, 4, and 5 day generic training program in the description of this video so that you have something that you can go and execute on straight away. But it isn't just a case of having a training program and ticking the box. You need to be executing your lifts well. We take our clients through our execution mastery blueprint where they film lifts for us every single week so that we can monitor how they're lifting, what their form is actually like, and what their intensity is like as well. So that they execute the lifts well and they get the results to show for it. And your aim every single week is simple. You need to beat what you've done before, whether that's by weight, by reps, or if form was a little bit shaky last week, improving upon that. If you're lifting the same thing that you did 6 months ago, then you will not have built any muscle. That's why you look the same, because your body is chilling on the beach, it's sipping a pina colada. Again, with our clients, we track their numbers to make sure they are progressing in an upwards trajectory. So we can see if they're plateaued, and then we can look at why that is. Maybe they're not training hard enough. Maybe they're just a bit stalled on this movement. Maybe we need to do some specific drills. Maybe we need to have a bit of a deload. But us constantly moving and progressing is critical. Before we get into what to do when you hit a plateau, we cannot skip past sleep. If you're underslept, you're going to be losing muscle as well as fat, which ain't ideal. If you sleep better, you're going to retain muscle and build muscle better whilst losing fat. So being more rested gets you results. That's a fucking win. Not to mention, sticking to your diet's going to be a lot easier because when you're underslept, hunger goes up and appetite control goes down. So you're more hungry and more likely to overeat because you're not actually getting a sense of fullness. And your energy, your mood, your recovery all go down the pan. We want to be aiming for 7 to 9 hours of good quality sleep on a consistent basis. So how do we do this? You're also going to want to get a big contrast in lux from day to night. So lux is just how we measure the strength of light. So ideally, get outside for a morning walk, but the thing that I would be prioritizing here the most is getting as much natural light as you can in the day, whether that's getting outside for a walk or working by a window, if possible. And then in the evening, turning lights off, utilizing lamps so that your body realizes, right, it's time to go to sleep, not time to be awake, not time to be stimulated. Light signals wakefulness, darkness signals time to go to bed. Set a sleep window. Have a consistent time that you are going to bed and waking up in the morning so that your body's circadian rhythm, your internal clock, can be in a routine. It can be consistent. It knows when to release certain hormones at certain times. We also want to sack screens off 60 minutes before we go to bed. Light is telling us to be awake, to be stimulated. Darkness, funnily enough, tells us that it's time to go to sleep, right? And we've got a light an inch away from our face, keeping us awake. Plus, you're reading shit on social media, keeping yourself stimulated. So sack them off 60 minutes before bed. Do something else relaxing like reading, whatever, breath work, whatever you want. We also want to make sure that our room is nice and dark because, building on what I said a minute ago, darkness signals to the body it's time to go to sleep, right? And light signals wakefulness. So get yourself an eye mask, some blackout curtains, something like that, and you have a better night's sleep. Along with the darkness, we want the room to be quite cool, not overly hot, because the body's temperature needs to drop a little bit for us to fall asleep. And ideally, we want it to be quiet as well. I'm going to Vietnam soon, where it's going to be dead noisy, I would imagine. So that would be interesting for the sleep. We also want to cut off caffeine 8 hours before we go to bed. Caffeine is a stimulant. It's built to keep you wired, to keep you awake, which isn't ideal before going to sleep, and it stays in your system for a very long time. So cut it out 8 hours before you go to bed. The last thing for us to cover is, what do you actually do when you hit a plateau? If your fat loss is stalled for 14 days or more, then we might want to make an adjustment. But first of all, you've got to be brutally honest with yourself. Have you actually been consistent with your program? Are you accurately tracking your calories? Are you skimping out on steps? Are you snacking over? Have you been eyeballing portions, telling yourself you're sticking to your calories? You don't want to make changes if you don't have to. Who wants to eat less food for no reason. I definitely don't. Most of the time, you don't need to make an adjustment, you need to increase adherence. If adherence isn't there, reflect on why that is, fix the problem at the root cause. Maybe you've just built up a little bit of diet fatigue and need a bit of a break. But there will come a time when you need to make an adjustment throughout this process. These are just some generic changes that I might look to make as we go throughout this process, but it will differ from person to person, right? Increase daily steps by 2,000, add 20 minutes of weekly cardio, or reduce calories by 5 to 10%. If you're struggling with hunger, then I'd look to increase activity through steps or cardio. If energy is the problem, but hunger's fine, then I'd look to make the adjustment through food. Pick one, run it for 14 days, see what the result is. If you follow these steps and you are consistent with this, you can absolutely lose 10 kg before summer. But there may be certain habits and behaviors that you realize as you go throughout this journey, you're finding very, very difficult to change. And that's because your brain is wired to repeat those certain habits, those certain behaviors. It's designed to push you away from threat and towards reward. And change is threatening, but we can overcome this through a process called habit hacking, which I go through in more detail in a separate video. I'll link that video in the description of this video, and I would urge you to watch it. The process of habit hacking has helped clients like Colin here go from massively struggling with his adherence, never being able to lose body fat, to losing 22 kg, us finishing working together about 2.5 years ago, and he's still in the same shape that I left him. So it's not a process to sniff at. If you found this video useful, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.